Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a truly harrowing case study of a family literally ripped apart by generational wealth. It's a story that kicks off with money and land, but, it quickly spirals into a desperate fight for survival. We're going to look at how financial control at the very top of the family tree ended up poisoning the roots. And what I mean by that is it stripped away the basic security of the youngest members, specifically young Amy, Evelyn, and Michael. So let's unpack how unequal access to wealth can push incredibly vulnerable kids into absolute danger.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture a crisp autumn night in Indiana. Carla Benedict is just going through her usual evening routine in a really busy, crowded house. She goes to tuck the kids in, calling out, "Arthur, Gina, Amy, where are you guys? It's bedtime." But when she looks under the beds and checks the rooms, she finds absolutely nothing but empty space. There's just this ominous, heavy silence hanging over the house. 5 children, including young Amy, Evelyn, and Michael, have vanished, completely gone into the night. It's literally the ultimate parental nightmare. But to understand why it happened, well, we have to look way beyond just a simple case of kids wandering off. Because to uncover why these kids disappeared into the dangerous, pitch-black woods surrounding their property, we actually have to trace it all back to the domino effect of a highly toxic family dynamic. This wasn't some random disappearance, right? This horrifying night was the direct result of a brewing dispute over a multi-generational fortune. It's a textbook example, a tragic one, of how weaponizing assets can completely blind adults to the physical and emotional safety of the kids caught in the crossfire.
Section 1. The Catalyst, Wealth and Control.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict. Right at the center of the story is the Benedict farm. It's this massive, lush countryside estate that doubled as an animal sanctuary. Running the whole show was the formidable matriarch Mima Edna, and she held absolute, total control over the family trust fund. And she flat out refused to share this wealth with her grown sons, Adam and Alex. So you got this classic explosive clash, an 88-year-old clinging fiercely to tradition versus sons who aggressively want to modernize the sanctuary into a highly profitable resort ranch. This stark, unequal access to the family's wealth basically created a massive pressure cooker environment.
Section 2. The Fracture, a Bitter Disownment.
So tensions had been simmering right beneath that tranquil, farm life facade for months. And they finally hit a boiling point when Adam received a terse, formal letter from his mother. It wasn't, an invitation to grab a coffee and talk. It simply read, "Adam, I've disowned you. You are not welcome on my farm anymore." I mean, can you even imagine the shock? A 50-year-old man entirely banished from his own family's legacy. And it gets worse. When Adam and Carla tried to visit Mima Edna to just smooth things over, she delivered this devastating emotional blow. She refused to even look at the grandchildren, including Amy, Evelyn, and Michael, who were standing right there in the living room watching the whole thing unfold.
Which leads us to ask, would this financial dispute completely tear the family apart? We really have to look at the immediate psychological toll here. While the adults are busy drawing battle lines over property deeds and trust funds, they totally ignored the innocent bystanders. For Amy, Evelyn, and Michael, this was not about resort ranches, right? It was the sudden, terrifying realization that their family's love was conditional on money. In a single instant, their entire sense of security was just shattered.
Section 3. The Unseen Victims. Now, what's really interesting about this is the massive scale of the crisis the adults created. We are talking about 5 young children, including Amy, Evelyn, and Michael. This intense familial tension completely robbed these kids of their security. Think about it from their perspective. Their beloved animal sanctuary was abruptly ripped away. Their grandmother suddenly turned ice cold, and their parents were just too distracted by their own anger to explain any of it. So instead of comforting the kids, the adults locked themselves away to scheme.
And because the adults were totally engrossed in strategizing this business takeover, the children felt utterly abandoned. That unbearable tension directly shaped their choices. Desperate to reclaim their sanctuary and, honestly, just find the security their parents failed to provide, Amy, Evelyn, and Michael led the younger kids out of the house. Driven by youthful curiosity, they ventured straight into the massive, labyrinthine woods, completely oblivious to the treacherous terrain and the very real physical danger separating them from their grandmother's estate.
Section 4. The Climax, Frantic Search in the Woods.
Things escalated incredibly fast.
By the time Carla discovered the empty beds at bedtime, pure chaos had descended. Within one single hour, the authorities arrived, and an official search party plunged into the dark, dense foliage. But fast forward to hour 3, and that fear had morphed into unadulterated anger. Adam actually abandoned the search momentarily just to directly confront Mima Edna. He's screaming at her, saying that her hoarding of the family wealth and her stubborn control had literally pushed his kids into immediate physical danger. As time blared deep into the night, the farm families were They were starting to give up hope.
Section 5. Marco the Hero Dog.
Just when despair was really threatening to consume everyone, a silent hero emerged. Marco, the family's professionally trained border collie. And fun fact here, a border collie's sense of smell is roughly 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive than a human's. Let's move to Marco's process and see how this builds. First, he caught the scent from the missing kid's clothes and shoes. About an hour later, he comes back carrying a massive clue in his mouth, a scarf belonging to Adam's daughter. Finally, with thunder literally rumbling overhead in a gathering storm, the search party followed the faithful hound back into the heart of the woods, where he stopped and just barked relentlessly at a dry hedge.
Right there, behind that dry hedge, the flashlights hit a flash of color. Amy, Evelyn, Michael, and the others were found huddled together. They were absolutely terrified, faces just etched with fear. But miraculously, they were alive. They were unharmed. As dawn broke over the Indiana countryside, the kids were safely returned to the loving embrace of their parents. That heavy, ominous silence of the woods was finally broken by the sound of their relieved laughter. It was a true sign of reborn hope.
Section 6. Lingering Shadows of Doubt. So, the crucial point is,
surviving the physical danger of the wilderness does not magically erase the toxic environment that sent those kids into the woods in the first place, right? The authorities packed up, the kids were safely tucked into bed, but the root cause of this whole terrifying ordeal, that bitter feud over wealth and control, was still sitting right there at the kitchen table. Will this family ever truly find solace? Amy, Evelyn, and Michael survived the night, sure, but the psychological trauma of being used as collateral damage in a generational war over a trust fund, that is not something a search party can fix. It really forces us to ask, when wealth becomes more important than family unity, can those fractured bonds ever truly be repaired? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this deep dive gave you a powerful new perspective on the true cost of control.